This is Gilbert Andrew Garcia of A Tip from Gilbert, talk, inspiration, and prayer. Listen to my show every Monday from 11 to 12 on KWWJ 1360 AM, KYOK 1140 AM, KCOH at 1230 KCOH.com, Sangeet Radio at 95.1 FM, 1460 AM, and Latino Sports, KEYH 850 AM. Call in at 832-570-8075 and follow me on social media. See you then. All right, Houston, Harris County, you got me again. A tip for me, talk, inspiration, and prayer. And boy, we have a really big show today. But first, if you notice, I got my swag now. I got my now Tip from Gilbert shirts. I have some hats. And I want to thank all my crew that have put all that stuff together for me. And now I have this type of shirt in like 10 colors. And soon I'm going to figure out how to mass distribute them and give them away to my guests and everything else. But my guest is someone who's been a first everywhere, just about everywhere in her life. And that is Abbie Kamin. Abbie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so glad we get to do this. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. And so, Abbie, first of all, I think there's big news in your family. And so, of course, you have a 5-year-old, and it's unbelievable that, you know, he's 5 already, because I remember he was the council baby, right? Were you the first city council person to have a child while being on council?
Yeah, so...
is that ever?
Ever. So we have a lot of fierce moms on council, and we've had a majority of women on council, which has been historic. But my first few months in office, I was pregnant. It was also the middle of the pandemic. So not only had a pandemic baby, but it was our first council baby. And so it's been incredible because there's been so many people that have watched him grow.
Oh my God.
It's just amazing.
It's like the whole city has watched him grow. And of course, there's some big news for you, because I understand that he is part. First of all, let's put Abbie's information up there real quick, Mr. Producer. So those of you that are on live and Facebook and everything else, we'll go back one quick. Let's go. Okay, there she is. Because not only do you represent probably the biggest council district, I think he's probably the biggest.
It was the
population.
The biggest. Redistricting happened, so we evened it out a little bit more, which is important.
Yep.
But it's still the most active district. So most 311 calls.
Is that right?
10 times over. When you get the Chronicles top 10 neighborhoods that report to 311, the top 5 are in District C.
Very interesting. I want to go to a lot of that, because I'd like to know what their concern is. What are they calling about? So I want to go to that. But I want to get to that big news, because are we ready, Mr. Producer? I want to go back to put that great Bad News Bears picture up there, because this is real. The Oreos are now the T-ball world champions.
That's right, with Timber Grove Sports Association.
Yep.
So my son is in T-ball. We're a big baseball family. And over the weekend, they won the World Series playoff. But it's a really high bar that was just set. How your first year, you get not only to the championship, but win. So we're very excited. We're very proud of his team. But all the teams, all the parents are incredible.
It's so wonderful. And, you know, I'm a veteran of a lot of these sort of youth sports, and all the way to high school on my kids. And I have coached 40 seasons of youth soccer. And I also was the announcer. And I was the announcer of the GHCAA track and field. That was me.
And
I was the voice.
That's how you've developed such an incredible skill for the podcast.
It could very well be. I want to go back to that picture, because what I love about that picture, let's go back there, is they're all looking at the camera. I mean, is that typical? And some have their hats real low, and some have their hats up on top.
But they're all happy.
They're all happy. I think that is a priceless picture right there.
Well, the coaches are amazing, and you talk about you did 40 seasons, which I can't wrap my head around, but it's such a gift that what you did for your kids, what all these coaches do, what all the parents do. And again, there's leagues throughout the city, and it's very special to see them engaging.
What's interesting is, you know, people like to say, oh, it's so great for your kids. Actually, I did it for me, because, I mean, look, I love my father. He's no longer with us, but he worked all the time, and he didn't really have the time to be there for my soccer games and my things. And I wanted to break that pattern. And I realized, or my father realized late in life, that the one who missed out was him.
Yeah.
And that is why I want to make sure I don't miss anything. I want to see their first home run, their first goal, their first everything. And so it's fantastic. Congratulations to the Oreos.
It's the Orioles. They do it based on MLB teams for T-ball. But you brought up a really important point about the juggle that parents have to do, and we all face that juggle. And there's a lot of parents that can't because they have to work so hard every single day just to put food on the table for their kids.
That's right.
But when you talk about the balance and working families, one of the things, especially as someone that's an elected official, you're at a lot of evening meetings, but I have so tried to safeguard just that time with my son to make sure he knows that I'm there. But I do want to recognize the commitment that takes to kind of safeguard that, and that not every parent has that luxury.
That's right. And people would tell me, Gilbert, how do you do it? You're building a business, this and that. At the end of the day, I would kind of, in my mind, treat my family like I would a client. In other words, I would make sure I scheduled the time.
The calendar
That's right.
matters.
That's exactly right.
And that time is sacred. So we have a rule. And during campaign seasons, it changes a little bit, but I don't miss more than 3 bedtimes a week.
Oh, how
that
great.
bedtime, so I make sure that time is safeguarded. And we did not miss games. That was my thing. I'm not going to miss T-ball games for my son. So, again, it's a give and take. And my son, it's actually my last full week on city council, and they're going to be coming to council, so I can really acknowledge my husband and my son for being so incredible, because it's a sacrifice for them too.
Well, we're talking a lot about it, but I wanted to ask you about it, so I'll just go to the question, and then you can elaborate even more. Let's face it, you're a very high-powered lawyer. You're now going to be the new county attorney, and we'll talk about that in a moment, here in about a month. And now you've been on council for a long time, and you're a wonderful wife and an incredible mother. How do you do that? There must be 3 of you, because how do you do it? And it's such a juggling act. And what advice do you have for young mothers out there?
Yeah, it's not easy. And I think what I have tried to bring to the table very publicly is how challenging it actually is. I mean, we just take the example of pregnancy, for example. You talk about, pregnancy, you're glowing. No, we're sweating. Like, we're hot. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But just to be open about all of the challenges that I go through, because none of us are perfect, and parenting is not perfect. And what I learned very early on in my pregnancy, I said, how the hell do other women do this?
Right.
And how do parents do this? And for single moms out there, they're my heroes.
Right.
They're superwoman. But I think it's about being open and honest, that we do the best we can and we fall short, but we keep trying. And that finding a way to continue to be as committed as I am to making a difference in our community, and at the same time, my commitment to my son, that he wants for nothing, that he knows love. And at the same time, I explain to him often, he'll say, Mommy, like, I don't want you to go or stay home with me. And I say, well, there's a lot of other kids that I'm fighting for too, and we have to do this for them too.
Well, let me ask you this. You sound fantastic when I hear you. Who inspired you? How did you learn this? Where was Abbie, young Abbie, when you were, 10 years old? Were you walking the halls of middle school saying, one day I'm going to do this. One day I'm going to be a public servant? Or did
Something
it just
like
did
that.
it just happen?
My dad, first off, my family is everything to me. My father, my mother inspired me, and it was always about, what are you going to do to make a difference in the world? That's always the question I was asked. Dinner table conversations were not, oh, what did you play at school today? It was, what's happening in the world right now. But my daddy took me in to vote with him when I was a little girl at our neighborhood polling location at Hunters Creek Elementary. And I fell in love with the democratic process. I just was fascinated by it. And you fast forward to middle school. I'm in middle school during the 2000 election, and we get assigned, to follow it and watch the debates. And then lo and behold, Bush v. Gore happens. And we are on a middle school trip to D.C., and my best friend and I convinced our middle school teachers to forego our tour of the Smithsonian to go to the Supreme Court. And we stood outside with all the protests that were happening. And I saw Jesse Jackson march and give his speech. And yet again, fascinated by the democratic process. And then you fast forward again to my first day of college, move-in day into the dorms in Louisiana. I know your son just graduated from LSU. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I was at Tulane. Move-in day into the dorms was evacuation day for the city of New Orleans during Katrina. And I evacuated, but I was volunteering as the first buses were coming into the Astrodome from the Superdome. Seeing every level of government fail, seeing people left to die because they were poor and black, rocked my world and shattered my very naive perception of America at that time. And at the same time, Katrina was made worse because of climate change. It was the first time we could point on U.S. soil and say, because of climate change, this was made worse. So it just propelled me into this new realm of engagement that really focused at the local level, because that's where you can make such a profound difference.
It's at the local level, without a doubt.
It's where the rubber meets the road. It's the day-to-day interactions that you have. And in law school in D.C., I was at the DNC in voter protection. I thought I was going into environmental law, right? Because I was you know, advocating to address climate change. And Shelby County versus Holder happens the day before my birthday as I'm in voter protection at the DNC. And that was, again, this kind of life-altering moment where I really started to focus on civil rights and voting rights right here in Texas, and that's what actually brought me home.
My goodness. It was destiny. In other words, it didn't just happen. You were like, your whole life has been prepared for this.
I don't know.
When you look back at it.
I don't know about destiny, but I do believe in staying true to your commitment and finding that path. And there's so many people along the way that guide you and support you. And again, even through parenting, finding a way to make sure that you are still you and you have that expression of who you are. And for many people, that comes in a lot of different forms. For me, it's service. It's helping that senior when there's a power outage get to safety so they're not overheating. It's working with neighborhoods to make sure that their homes don't flood again. The list goes on, but I'm very lucky that I have that opportunity.
How wonderful. You know, I'm going to date myself now, and you're going to go, what? I was young Gilbert Garcia at Yale, and I was the head of the Democratic Party and all these sorts of things, and I was a ward committee chairman, if you can believe that, for the city of New Haven. But I was a delegate to the Democratic National Convention for Walter Mondale. And that was a convention where Mario Cuomo did the keynote, and that was where Jesse Jackson had a big, stage. And I remember seeing their speeches and writing, and I remember that Mario Cuomo's looked kind of, so-so, but his delivery was extraordinary. And it just goes to show you the power of the delivery. And then you read Jesse Jackson's. Not only was his delivery incredible, but it read like poetry. And I knew Reverend Jackson, and we supported him and all his things that he would do. We met with him many, many times. And what's interesting is I know a different side of him. See, most people know him as a civil rights icon and all those. I know him as the boardroom person that would go to Wall Street and bang on the door to say, you need more diversification on your boards. And he would he would strike fear in these companies if they didn't change. And he was incredible. And I remember meeting with him very vividly. He said, Gilbert, don't forget, he goes, think of it like an apple tree. He goes, my job is to shake the tree so the apples fall down, and your job is to pick them up. And I'll never forget when he told me that. But what an extraordinary person. I don't know if we have that clip of him, if you can find it, when we have him speaking about what it is to be a Democrat. But before we do that, we have a caller already. Was there an Ernie on the line? Ernie, are you there?
Yes, I'm here on a happy Monday, Gilbert. Happy Monday, Abbie.
Well, you have us on a tip from Gilbert with Abbie Kamin. And I know you sent me a text or an email or something. And please tell us all about early voting and what day and everything else, because I know you wanted me to make sure I talked about it. And let's do it.
Yes, I do, and I know Abbie knows it's important. Abbie's my buddy. We go to Central Market at the same time. I don't know how we do it, but we meet at the Central Market all the time.
She's got a Central Market right there in her hand.
I'm holding my Central Market tea at the moment.
I say, I don't know how we do it, but we always go at the same time. And when I need something, I can tell her real quick because I got her in person.
Amen.
And I have to say, both of you are great leaders because you have really spun off on each other. When Gilbert supported you, Abbie, for the last 3 years in your beautiful Levy Park Summerfest, and I worked it, so I know, and it's hot as heck out there. But Abbie was over there treating the people great by having a Summerfest and doing a dog walk where you get the best dressed dog, and Abbie was out there talking, and she puts her money where her mouth is. She really understands the public, and I appreciate you for that, Abbie.
Thank you.
I know Gilbert does too, because only reason that we supported that Levy Park's effort was because of you. And we know that the goodness that you do. So we appreciate that. And I will say to the voters out there to please go vote. Monday through Friday is early voting. And we have 48 sites. All you have to do is go to Vote Houston, and they will show you the locations. Maybe it's not one down the street from your house, but we have 48 locations, and you need to find one because this is an important vote. And no vote is too small, so you've got to look at it as an important effort at this time. And I'm hoping that everybody will, if they can't early vote, they'll vote on the 26th of May. I know it's after Memorial Day, but get up, get off the couch, go vote.
And I know that people somehow, and I'm just how they say a regular Joe, I'm a regular Gilbert. And at the end of the day, I'm exhausted with all these elections. I mean, and think about CD 18, and there's all these things, and the confusion of a primary, and there's not a primary, and then we just had a District C election, and somehow, and I'd like to think I'm educated, but my goodness, I guess the key is this: we got one more to go, and then comes a general in November. Yep. Am I right on that?
One more to go. Look, the confusion is by design. Let's be clear. As a CD18 resident,
yep.
I have not had representation for nearly a year.
Wow.
Now we do, and Congressman Menifee, former county attorney who did incredible work at the county attorney's office. But before we dive into that, Ernie, I just want to say thank you so much for making sure that elections are top of mind, for your engagement, like so many others. It's a lot of work with very little to no recognition when people are out in the community engaging folks in our democracy at a time when, as we're seeing, the forces at will, the federal and state level, are trying to suppress that vote and trying to suppress the voices of people who have a right to that voice. So, Ernie, I just want to thank you, and thank you for bringing up Families with Pride. A huge shout out to Gilbert and his team. We have a lot of sponsors that engage. It's this family-friendly celebration that is absolutely incredible. It's taken off, but Gilbert, you've been there since pretty much the start of this thing, so I'm very grateful. But again, Ernie, thank you for everything you and others do to engage residents, because voting matters. So Gilbert, to your point, yes, confusing. We have one more. This election that's coming up that Ernie is talking about is for the primary runoffs. So for different parties, so for the Republican primary and the Democratic primary, the runoffs for that And then the winners of those go on to the November general, the midterm elections.
And so to be clear, I think what's on the ballot is county attorney, excuse me,
No.
I'm sorry, apologize, county judge,
Yes.
both on the Democrat and Republican side. I guess CD 18.
CD 18,
Right.
and again, it depends on where you live.
Right.
There's other state races.
Right.
There's statewide races.
Attorney General, the Senate.
Senate, Attorney General.
Right.
As well as some of our statewide races. So, for example, on the Republican side, Railroad Commissioner, which is actually a really important position. And I want to call that out because one of the candidates has spewed anti-Semitic remarks publicly. And even our Lieutenant Governor, Dan Patrick,
Exactly.
has called that out.
Yep.
And I want to recognize that because we're seeing not just divisive rhetoric right now, but dangerous, hateful, not just language, but attacks on communities that are absolutely unacceptable.
And somehow, you always knew, as a Latino, you always know there's underlying feelings out there, but somehow it's now okay
it's normalized.
to just like say these mean things and to treat people poorly. It's just like it's okay, but it's not okay.
It's absolutely disgusting. It's un-American, and it's not who we are or who we should be. Houston and Harris County is the most diverse city in the country. Our diversity is our strength, not just in the beautiful fabric and the cultures and the food. You think we got to be the best food city in around without our diversity? It's just our economy, all of it is based on that, and we have to start pushing back.
Amen to that. And so Ernie, early vote is now through Friday, you said?
Yes, sir.
And then when is
And
election
then-
day?
Tuesday, the 26th. It's the day after Memorial Day. And don't use that as an excuse that I'm out of town or whatever the heck. Get off the couch, go vote. I don't care. Take 3 people with you. If you
Amen.
want to be a driver, to take people, do something.
Well,
This is an important election.
And you can vote at any polling location in Harris County. So whether it's the one near your home or the one near your work,
oh, that's great. Thank you
Right.
for saying that.
you can do that.
You can go
and,
anywhere.
And we need Anise Parker to be elected because let me tell you, if we have any problems in the summer, you better hope to heck she's in charge because she knows what to do when we have problems. And when this city is going disruptive and Centerpoint isn't showing up, Anise will get on the phone and she will drive over there and she will make people get to work.
Yeah.
We need Anise Parker.
Well, that's my mayor.
Anise is terrific, and as you said, Ernie, what matters is who's going to show up for you.
Amen. Well, Ernie, thank you for calling in. And call in anytime. Charlotte, I can see you said vote or any polling place. I know you said something earlier about Anise Parker on one of your earlier texts. So thank you very much, Charlotte, for tuning in. I'm going to keep going because it's interesting, Abbie, because I know earlier you're very interested in things about other countries and how their governments work and so forth. I was in Peru during their election, not for the election, but I was there. And what's very interesting is it is mandatory to vote there, mandatory, or else you get a fine. And then if you get a fine, they'll find you and make sure they collect. It's unbelievable. So the turnout is just like off the charts. In contrast here, it's almost like, how can we make it so difficult?
The
land of the free, home of the brave, and all that democracy. God, I mean,
well,
Go, please.
Take IDs, for example. There's this whole debate about voter ID, and I don't think there's anybody out there that doesn't agree about the importance of election integrity. But when you get into the nuance of it, for example, Texas's voter photo ID law, which I was involved in the challenges to that litigation. We actually did a documentary to try to help individuals get their IDs, not just so they can vote, so they can live.
Mm-hmm.
And the hurdles that are put in place, the cost, the number of documents you need, the cost of those documents, but then, okay, it's Texas, and if you're a senior citizen and you were born in a rural part, those records may not exist because, for example, in one town, the facility holding those records burned down and they weren't digital. So for a lot of folks, it's hard to wrap your head around what hurdles are being put in front of people, but there are a lot. And we've got to do a better job of making voting accessible, and representation matters. You're seeing the Voting Rights Act has been blown to pieces. I thought Shelby County versus Holder, when they eviscerated Section 5 when I was in law school, was bad. What we're seeing now, I mean, the state of Louisiana is declaring a state of emergency to redraw when people have already cast votes.
Can you imagine that? What happened to
Well,
the will of the voters?
Unfortunately, I can't imagine it because it's happening. And we're seeing one side just absolutely sowing fear, sowing mistrust. And when you start to chip away at the trust of our democratic process, you start to chip away at democracy. And that's what this is all about right now, is standing up and fighting and protecting democracy and the right of the American people.
These are scary times. But we have another caller. Is there a Natalia there? Natalia, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
You got me, a tip for me, talk, inspiration, and prayer with Abbie Kamin, council member, District C. What do you got for us?
Hi, Ms. Kamin. I wanted to know, what's the decision that you've made in office that taught you something unexpected about the city of Houston?
That's a really good one. We'll take some recent examples. There's been a few votes on council, and I want to say that I, up front, love my colleagues dearly, and I think it is okay to disagree. I think those conversations are very important. But what we don't get to disagree on is the rule of law, and respect for the law, and honoring the law, and following the law. And there's been a lot of headlines around ICE recently, and the debate over whether the city of Houston should do something, shouldn't do something. But I was taken aback by how quickly the city of Houston has capitulated to Greg Abbott and the attack on local control, whether it's on paint for crosswalks.
Can you imagine that? Like, there's nothing more important
better to do, but it was also like, these are public right-of-ways, and nobody challenged the governor's authority to intervene in that way. And nobody is standing up and saying, hang on a second, what does the law say? And how do we follow the law? And that has been very surprising. I think it's a larger pattern that we're seeing throughout the country, where things are just being pushed through very quickly without the opportunity for the public to engage, for the public to understand, and for the public to weigh in.
What's interesting to me, and stay with us, Natalia, what's interesting to me is, you know, you always hear, and it's not just Greg Abbott, it's governors in general, always complain about the interference of the federal government and all the federal government, but that's exactly what Austin is doing to Houston. It's kind of like, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Or I don't know if that's the right saying, but at the end of the day, don't you think that, the double standard that exists there somehow?
It's the party of local control has abandoned that concept, and they are not just interfering with local control, they're creating all of these unfunded mandates that are burdening the city of Houston and other cities throughout Texas and putting us in a even more precarious financial situation. But the state level interference, I mean, one of the reasons that when I was looking at Harris County Attorney and how important this role is it is that line of defense against the state, but it is more and more and more about defending from state interference. I mean, if you look back at Harvey recovery and disaster response, the state's intentional diversion of hundreds of millions of dollars from the areas hardest hit by Harvey that the federal government said direct those dollars to, and the state diverted it elsewhere. And we see example after example, this constant and inappropriate, harmful hostility towards cities in Texas.
How do we get the public to be more aware of these things? I mean, we got shows like this one, and we try to educate people, but I don't think people really know that these things go on.
Well, I think we have to be having conversations. Houston is a very, rightfully so as it should be, business-friendly town. And when you're about business, you don't necessarily get into the politics of it. But when we stop having those conversations about how things impact us personally, how this policy or what you're seeing or this is what you're worried about, we shut off those opportunities to really engage. And one of the things being in government that has hurt the most to see is the breakdown of civility. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of that has to do with social media. It is very easy to be an online warrior and to say these things behind a screen. And we've stopped having conversations. We've thrown up labels and names. And remember, a lot of these things online are bots. It's nation state interference from other countries and the brainwashing that is happening. We've got to start connecting one-on-one with people.
Well, you know, I'm going to come to that in 1 second. I have a thing to say on that. But Natalia, do you have anything else for Miss Abbie?
No, that was a great way of explaining that. I'm sure that takes a lot of patience and practice to get to that level of balance. So thank you for going over that.
Well, thank you so much for calling in. And everybody, please keep those calls coming in. 832-570-8075. You know, Abbie, we talked about this whole thing of disconnecting or, you know, the bots, et cetera. What's interesting to me is I was out the other day with my wife, and we were having dinner, and I am an empty nester now, and I'm miserable. We'll talk more about that in a moment, because my princess, my only daughter, is now gone at UChicago. But we were at dinner, and we just casually observed a table next to us, and there were like 5 people there, a family, having dinner. But are you ready for this? They were all on the phone.
Yeah.
They were all on the phone. They weren't even looking at each other. They weren't even saying anything to each other. And I bet you they were going to leave and all think, boy, we had a great time at dinner together. But really, they were all on the phone.
And the studies that are coming out are showing, especially in young children and young adults, huge impacts to your neurological patterns and your memory and your ability to retain information. So there's all these studies coming out about, you know, the harms of online. Now, online has also connected us in ways we could never imagine. I think it's really how we use it. And that's not to say there's no shade to the parents that break the emergency glass and give their kids an iPad if you need it, right? And I respect that. One of the things I learned becoming a new mom was I had all these judgments about how, I'm never going to do that.
Right. I'm never going to be one of
I'm
those
not going to do
moms.
that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get this.
Yep.
So, but we do try to limit our son's screen time. And really, like when we sit down, if he'll sit down. I mean, there's a lot of running around and chasing the feed.
I know, I've been there.
But just connecting, the ability to make eye contact with someone and have those conversations, even if it's not about a very serious issue, we've got to be more intentional.
You know, back to that, I'm not going to be one of those moms or one of those dads. You know, I remember when I was again, long time ago when I did not have kids, you would see people that had kind of like a leash on their kid. And I would say, I'm not going to be one of those. But you know what? Those kids, before you know it, they
bolt.
I remember we would be at like Walmart and stores like that. And I would say, because I have one son that's just always into mischief. And I'd say, where's Benjamin? Benjamin, and we're all looking around. Where's Benjamin? He must have been no more than 5 years old. And we're all panicking. And then we hear, excuse me, we have a little lost boy, His name is Benjamin. And he would like to, you know, a Walmart has those things, those racks with they're like circular with all those shirts and things on a hanger around it. He would like to be in the middle of that and hide. And so I remember saying, I'm not going to be one of those parents with a leash, but you know what? Sometimes you got to have a leash. So no, I totally get it. We have another caller already. What was that name there? Is there a Jordan there? Jordan, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
You have me, Gilbert Garcia, with Miss Abbie Kamin. And what do you got for Miss Abbie or for me?
Yes, I had a question for Miss Abbie. If you have, what's a women-focused policy you're most proud of working on?
These are good questions today.
There you go.
Jordan, thank you for the question. So being the first woman to be pregnant on council, I talked a little bit about how rough my pregnancy was. And most people don't know this. Council members are part-time. So I say that at the outset because none of the benefits.
They're meant to be part-time, but they really aren't. But keep going.
It's full-time plus, yes. Yeah. But we're deemed part-time, so none of the benefits that I'm about to talk about apply to me, and I want to make sure people know that. But the importance of being able to, as a mother in a state that has the highest rate of maternal mortality in the country, to make sure that we're taking care of women and families. And I worked on with our unions, with city employees, and with Mayor Turner. First, we created the first ever Women's Commission for the city of Houston, and that brought together experts from all around the city. And the first charge that I had worked on with the mayor, and we gave them the first charge of creating the first parental leave policy, paid parental leave policy for the city of Houston. And I worked very closely with them, again, with our unions, with our city employees, and we created the first ever paid parental leave and prenatal wellness policy for all 25,000 employees. But what's so important about it, and the reason I want to share it, is because in the private sector, they can really push this, and I hope it takes on. One, Gilbert, you know this. Parental leave is not a vacation.
Mm-hmm. That's right. No.
It is probably one of the most exhausting, frightening, stressful times of your life.
In fact, you probably say, I can't wait to go back to work.
It's there's nothing like it.
Right.
And to be worried about your paycheck. So we had employees and a lot of employees, because you just get FMLA. So if you've earned enough vacation time, you can get a paycheck. But if you've used up that vacation time, yes, you're allowed 3 months leave or X number of weeks, but if you're not getting a paycheck, you can't support your family. So we found a lot of parents having to go back right then, or like the dad switching to a night job, so that the mom could stay home at, with the kids some of the time at night because she was working. Dad would work nights. It's just not sustainable. So we created a separate bank of paid leave for parents.
Oh, how wonderful.
Plus, on top of that, 1 year, either parent has time off to take their child to those appointments the first year, those doctor's appointments, because we want that kid to be healthy too. And again, you shouldn't have to take your vacation. You shouldn't have to take your sick leave to recover from delivery, from birth, from taking care of your child. And then on top of that, again, middle of the pandemic, a lot of women have complications and difficulty, but we saw that pregnant women were either having to grin and bear it through complications when the doctor's saying, no, we really don't think you should go to work, because they couldn't take that leave. They needed to save it for when they gave birth so they could take time off. So we created a separate bank of pregnancy wellness leave. Every woman should be able to get to their doctor's appointment, their checkup, or take care of anything that they need for the health of them or their future child, and not worry about that.
Amen to that.
So that is the model that we created. Now, we still have a big gap. There's a lot of folks that either are caring for a spouse or caring for an elder parent, and we don't have time off for that yet. And that's a challenge for
That'll
folks.
be next. Jordan, I'm going to cut you off. I so apologize, but thank you so much for your question, because we have Congressman Al Green on the line, and let me get the congressman on. But Jordan, thank you for calling in. Congressman, are you there?
Hello, Congressman? Okay, let me put Gilbert 1 moment.
Congressman Al Green. Congressman, can you hear me? Congressman Al Green.
Yes.
How are you there, Congressman?
Oh, man, I am better than I deserve, and I have some great news.
Well,
since I last talked to you, the Honorable Craig Washington has joined our effort. He is with us.
oh, how
The Honorable
fantastic.
Craig Washington.
How
Yes,
fantastic.
yes.
Well, you're on a
Yes.
roll, my friend. We
Well,
have
thank you.
we have my guest here, Abbie Kamin, who you probably know well, of course.
Hi, Congressman.
I know quite well. Quite well. The county attorney, I might add.
Yeah, upcoming.
Good to-
June 15th.
Come June
Uh-huh.
15th. But Congressman, since I have you, first of all,
Uh-huh.
how's it going on the campaign trail for you?
Momentum is building. I think things are going well. Martin King III was here yesterday. He and I went to churches together, and we did something very special. We went out to the statue over in the park, in Herman Park, where, well, actually it's McGregor Park,
Right.
where his father's statue is. And he gave a speech there. And after that, we went out to Bishop Dixon's church. We traversed the neighborhoods. So things are going very well. We've got a lot of luminaries and very important people who have decided that this is the campaign they want to be associated with. And I'm so proud and pleased that they're doing it and grateful. I'm just grateful. This is a wonderful thing to see developing. And I assure you that we're going to be right there on election day, and you're going to be proud of the results.
Amen. I'm going to give you a factoid. That statue, I remember vividly because, of course, the federal government, through their grant and through all the process of how we did things, Metro's the one that put that statue there. And it was Congresswoman, your colleague, and you, that Sheila Jackson Lee, that said,
The Congresswoman.
That's right. You got to make sure you put that there, and I want it to be big and beautiful. And so we thank you for making sure that happened. And so that was just tremendous. Well, Congressman, real quick, I just wanted to get your view about this whole thing. I don't have all the facts yet, but apparently we now got some information about Donald Trump, the president, and all the trades he's been doing. And my goodness, I wish I could do all those trades. And can you imagine all the all the information he had that the public doesn't have to make those trades?
Yes, it's the trades that he's made, but it's also this dastardly proposal that he's made to receive money from the federal government that he would be allowed to reimburse people. He's calling it retribution, somehow to give people money for some egregious offense that they may have suffered at the hands of the government. But he wants to do it in a very esoteric way. He doesn't want to tell us who the people are that will be the recipients. Just give him $1 billion and he'll distribute it as he chooses. This is so ridiculous. It's the epitome of ridiculosity, not anything that I would sign on to. And I just signed on to a bill today to prevent that from happening. Moulton and our own Congresswoman right here in Houston is on the bill, and I'm just proud to be associated with it. I'm talking about Lizzie Fletcher. I'm proud to be associated with it. This president went with some of his best investors to a summit that would have hopefully allowed us to bring an end to a war. But instead, he managed to get a few hundred planes for a company and to insult Taiwan by stepping back from strategic ambiguity, which is the policy that we've been having with Taiwan for years and years and years, and with, actually with China. Pardon me, I'm at the airport out here, plane going overhead. We're here to honor the Honorable Sheila Jackson Lee with a special tribute in naming Terminal E in her honor.
Which
Oh,
we
how-
on council had
how
voted
great.
for. It was very special.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it was done today. Beautiful ceremony. But just to put a period to what I was saying, he has caused strategic ambiguity to become something less than the potent weapon it was, because China would not know what our move would be. But he has pretty much stated that he's not interested in saving Taiwan if America is at risk. And that kind of statement does not help the people who have helped us. Those chips that they make, they're the best in the world. In fact, they're the only people that make a good many of the products that they produce. And they've been our friends. And he is quietly and subtly, not so subtly, abandoning our friends. So I'm with you. I'm very much concerned about what he has done that we don't know about, that will line his pockets even further.
My goodness. Well, Congressman, keep fighting the good fight and keep doing the Lord's work. And we wish you so much great success here on the campaign.
And it's
Well, thank you so much.
thank you, Congressman. And look, we've talked earlier about CD18 and redistricting, and I want to recognize the position that fighters like Congressman Green, fighters like Congressman Menifee have been put in, where they're forcing Black and Hispanic elected officials into districts to compete with one another, rather than ensuring that there is fair and equal representation. So I just want to recognize the fight that each of these not just candidates, but elected officials bring. And they mentioned Congresswoman Fletcher, who's the head of our state delegation in Congress. And somehow, even though Trump is trying to pit Democrats against each other, we are finding ways to stand together and to work together. And that is something we need now more than ever.
Wonderful. Well, one thing for sure, they moved the boundaries on Congressman Green.
Right.
Because most of CD18 was CD9.
Correct.
Something like
That's
80%. But it's pretty amazing. Well, keep doing the Lord's work there, Congressman, and we let you get back to your celebration of Sheila Jackson Lee.
I promise you I'm going to do it. And I want people to know that this is Donald Trump's handiwork.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump decided that this would happen. And he and his crypto cronies have put a lot of money into this race. $5 million plus.
Wow.
And the word is that they're going to spend $5 million more. Those ads that you see are being paid for by the crypto industry. And I just want people to understand that that kind of money, they expect something in return. But I thank you so much for allowing me this moment.
Well, please call in again, Congressman, and thank you for all the hard work that you do for everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We have another caller here, and that is...
Speaking of strong women.
Yeah, here we go. Here it comes. Anise Parker, are you there? Mayor Anise Parker, are you there? Anise Parker. Welcome to the show. How are you there? Mayor, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm out at the West Gray polling location, the multi-service center, about to go in with some of my friends and cast my vote. First day of early voting. I know everybody's called into you today has been emphasizing that, but it's a very short window for the runoff with just 5 days of early voting. So we want people to get out early and get it done.
Mayor, is this like the shortest early vote we've ever had? Because it just seems like every time I turn around, there's an election.
Short vote.
It's very short.
And no weekend.
Yes.
My goodness.
Yes.
This is like,
yes.
How can we find a way to make sure nobody votes?
Exactly. Exactly. But this is one where it's the Republicans and the Democrats have the same problem, but it's all part of a larger pattern. We've spent years trying to make it easier and easier to vote, and now they've tried to we're going in the other direction. But the good news is it's a very short ballot, actually on both sides. Now, obviously, I'm a Democrat and I'm running in the Democratic primary, but it's a short ballot in both primaries, so people can get in and get out and go on about their day. But, doing it in early vote and not waiting until the Tuesday after Memorial Day, which is a terrible day.
Golly.
You have actually voting day. It just makes a lot of sense. Get it over with.
Well, Mayor, I happen to have seen you, and by the way, we have Abbie Kamin here with us.
Hey, Mayor.
And I happen to have seen with you, Mayor, you were on some social media thing, and I just want to say you have some good moves. You're out there doing some salsa dancing or something. You had some good moves, Mayor. And I thought to myself, my God, that's my mayor right there.
I have enthusiasm. I don't know if I have good moves, but when the music's playing and the good Latin beat, I can't stand still.
Well,
I just have to move.
Well, let's ask you that. I know you got a lot to do and you want to get that vote in, but let me ask you this. How's the turnout? Are people there? Are there a lot of candidates there? Or what's happening?
It's kind of slow but steady. There are no lines. I don't think there are any lines anywhere, but there's a steady stream of people in and out. I think it's going to be a very low turnout. It's not going to be as terrible as the District C runoff that the city had, but I think it'll gradually build during the course of the week. But it's not going to be overwhelming numbers. I think a lot of people are just they shot their wad at the in the primary, and they're not as concerned about the runoff. The primary was something like 3 times the number of people showed up on the Democratic side as anybody expected, and they were people who voted in November but decided to come out early. I just don't see them coming out, so this is going to be more of the traditional Democratic primary voters, the hardcore Democratic primary voters, and I think I'll do well with him, so I'm excited.
Well,
I'm happy to be here.
How do you feel? How do you feel? Do you feel like that song? I feel good.
I feel good, but I will not feel. I won't be celebrating until after the last vote is counted next Tuesday. I have had an average of a 20-point lead in every head-to-head poll that's been done with my opponent since last June. But polls don't vote; people vote, and so we are not slacking off one bit. We're doing a full campaign, and she's competing hard, as am I. I am confident of victory, but I'm also not taking any chances.
And I can attest. I mean, Mayor Parker has been out there hitting the pavement.
Yeah, she's everywhere
every single day. We know how hard of a worker she was for Houston as our mayor. How hard she has fought. At the national level for communities, and I mean, she's just not slowing down. It's incredible. And Mayor, my hat's off to you. Not just in terms of the campaign that you're running and how, I mean, she's talking to every single person, and it's not just talking. She listens. She really listens.
Thank you.
And if
Thank you. I do my best.
You are incredible, and the skill, the knowledge, but the compassion that she will bring to the county judge's role.
And there's probably no one better equipped than Mayor Parker to be county judge, without a doubt.
Well, in terms of local government experience, thank you. Try, tested, and true. Local government experience for sure, but I do pride myself on being present because that's something that I've been concerned about. It's good to be able to stand in front of cameras and communicate. And frankly, I can only speak English, and I respect that the current county judge can speak in Spanish to so many of the constituents that need to hear that. But it's not enough to stand in front of cameras. You have to be in community. You have to be talking to real people and seeing for yourself what the conditions are on the ground across the community, and I've always done that, and that is a hallmark of the campaign, and I know that pays off too.
Well, soon it's going to be County Judge Anise Parker, so everyone, please come out and vote. And Mayor, you got my vote, and we'll see you next time. We'll just have you please call in all the time. Let us know what's happening.
And I'm just excited you got our future county attorney. Another 2 weeks or so, and she'll be in office, and looking forward to working with Abbie Kamin.
Thank you, Mayor. And it's a good reminder, though, just like every vote matters now, we're all still on the ballot in November. And the county attorney, even though it's probably one of the most important roles in the entire region, is at the very bottom of the ballot. Past all, you have your, federal, statewide, all the judges, and that's where you start to see a lot of drop off, as you know.
Yep.
And then it's county judge and then county attorney.
Well,
so
make sure
on the longest ballot in the country. So we've got a lot of education to do.
That means Harris County, make sure you go all the way down. Mayor Anise Parker.
This time it'll be a short one. November it'll be the long one again. But show up, get in and out. You can do it in just a couple of minutes. Please come vote. Just vote.
Early vote is happening
everybody's support.
Right now. Short ballot. Go make it happen. Vote Anise Parker. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. I know we have another caller. Before we go to that caller, I want to just show that LSU because we went to my son's graduation. My son Benjamin graduated from LSU. And, the thing about kids, they are how they are when they're little, and they are how they are when they get bigger. So let me show you real quick quick photos here. First of all, go back one. So that's how it looks. And then here comes, and you see in the middle, that's my daughter Juju and Benjamin. And Benjamin is, of course, the one with the LSU. And then I have Daniel Thomas I have my beautiful wife, Andrew, and of course his beautiful wife, Melissa. And so then as Benjamin, the Benjamin comes out, him and his sister, and show me the next one. And there he is covering her. And then he did it again. Go to the other ones. Keep going. And so there they are taking a picture together, and then he can't help himself. There he goes. I mean, it's just, it's just beautiful how they are when they're little is how they are when they grow up. I know, Abbie, you got something to say. Before you do, we have another caller. Let's take one more caller here. Judith, are you there?
Hey, how are you, Gilbert? This is Dr. Castillo. How are you?
Dr. Castillo, how are you? This is Gilbert Garcia with a tip from me with Abbie Kamin. And what do you got for us?
Well, I was calling on behalf of the Greater Houston Justice Coalition under Johnny Mata. I am the Director of Education. We hold a press conference last week with everything that's going on, the discrimination against students with disabilities and HISD. I am a parent of an autistic child, and I was listening to you guys, especially Miss Abbie, that said, as mothers, we don't know. We don't have a manual. They don't tell us how to raise our children. And especially a child that is born with a disability, we are navigating the system, especially in the Latino Hispanic community. They don't know how to file a complaint against, the Department of Texas Education Agency. So we are community advocates that have raising a serious concern regarding the treatment and the educational placement and support services that are being provided to these students with disabilities. Well, we met this past week with Congressman Al Green and Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia, and we are trying to request a congressional investigation of the oversight regarding the special education practices in Houston ISD. I want to see how is Harris County going to help these families? How can we better support our parents, including myself, that have students with children with disabilities, navigate this system that it's very discriminating because they're separating them from their non-disabled peers, and they're failing to provide an equal educational opportunity to them.
Well, you know what I'd like to do, because that is such a great topic. I think that deserves a show. So I want to get through these elections here, and let me get you on the show to talk about it. How do you feel about that?
Great, I would love to. Yes.
Yeah, let's devote a whole show to it rather than go through it now and not give it the justice it deserves and the right attention. So I'm just gonna have you on. Just call my number back here after the show, my producers, and we'll get you on the calendar.
Great.
And I do want to say thank you, thank you for the voice you're providing, not only for your children, but for the thousands of other families in HISD right now. We've seen what's happening with the state takeover, not just from our teachers, but from our parents. I've sat in on some of those meetings where parents are trying to testify, to come forward in good faith and say, we need this help. And it's not just heartbreaking. We're seeing the breaking apart of our public education system. And again, I go back to the foundation of American democracy is our public school systems. And especially for our children with disabilities, and I've done a lot of work trying to bring attention even to West Gray Multi-Service Center, our largest polling location in the county, but it's also the where our disability community and their families get a lot of the public services that aren't available anywhere else. And then you look in our schools and what's happening now in HISD. So I just want to thank you for keeping this issue at the forefront, because they're also, when we talk about issues around what Trump is doing right now. Thousands of children are not showing up to school. We have disability families that are struggling and are being cut out, but we also have thousands of children that are not going to school out of fear.
Well, Dr. Castillo, I'm going to have you on. So just call my producers after, and you know what? Let's tee up that music. Are you ready for this? The show's over.
I can't believe
it's already been an hour.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Can you believe it?
It's incredible. Look, the work that you do, the voices that you bring, and I just want to say, because it's my last week on council, full week, I'm so grateful to the residents, not just of District C, but of Houston, for working with me, whether it was on advocating for domestic violence survivors, we're going to have a report out at the end of this week that covers a lot of the work that we've done, but also work that needs to continue to do. So please look for that report so we can keep whoever's next accountable.
Well, you know what? I want to have you again because we didn't talk about anything.
I would love to.
I mean, we didn't talk about the county attorney and what are you going to do and what are your top issues. We didn't talk about 911, all the things that people want to do and what they call in, not 911, 311.
Yes.
But, you know, Carol Burnett had that song that you can hear. Sorry, and before you know it, to say so long. Can you believe it? It's over. Give us the last word. What's the website? How can people get involved, etc.?
Go to abbiekamin.com. Please visit the website. And then starting June 15th, go to the Harris County Attorney's website as well.
There you got it. This is Houston, Harris County. This is Gilbert Garcia with a tip from me saying, we will see you next time.
And happy belated birthday.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. Thank you. All right, Houston, Harris County, this is Gilbert Garcia of A Tip from Gilbert, Talk, Inspiration, and Prayer.
Watch and hear my show on YouTube, Facebook, RSS, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify.
And follow me on social media. See you then.